All My Homies are Legends, episode 7. All right, Jumah Muhammad and Hoa Tang. All right, two of my teammates from Dragon House, both MMA fighters, some really solid dudes. You know, Jumah is an entrepreneur. He is a respectable martial artist. You hold belts in multiple arts, right?
Yes.
Like he got a belt in jiu-jitsu. He got a belt in martial art.
I'm the IBJJF absolute world champion. I'm a 155-pound amateur world champion.
Talk that shit, brother, man. You know what I'm saying? And then
I put in my work.
And then we got Hal. He's a young phenom. You know what I'm saying? On the up and coming from Vietnam. You know.
Still in high school.
Still in high school, and he whooping on these old ass men. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, welcome, fellas. Welcome. Both of my homies, which makes them legends in their own right. I'm happy that you guys are here. I'm happy that you guys are doing this. And yeah, man, let's get to it. So, we're going to start with you, Jumah. How you doing today, bro?
Shoot, pretty good. Right now, we're just chilling in SF. We just came back from the Cheesecake Factory.
It's a fact.
And overall, we've just been living life, looking at amazing views, exploring the city, and just living life.
Yeah, bro, ain't no better way to do it. How about you? How are you doing today?
It's a good day. Eat, train. Yeah, it's a good day.
Yes, sir. This interview is real impromptu. You know what I'm saying? Like, we ain't really planned this. It was just like, let's just be together, so why not? And yeah, you know. How? You have a fight coming up. How do you feel about that, bruh? What is your mindset going into this fight?
So I'm coming up as a loss, right? I'm trying to take a W this time. It's August 13th. It's in 2 weeks. 130 pound, and I think it's again another 17 years.
It's another 17-year-old.
Nice.
All right, so you definitely gonna smoke him. Not concerned about that at all. Like, yeah, bro. Your last fight, that's a classic. If you haven't seen it, it is a Primal Fighting Championship on YouTube. I think you went under How Found for that one.
Fam is my mom last name.
Okay, hold on. Yo. I'm gonna cut this out. Edit this out. 3, 2, 1. So yeah, if you haven't checked it out, it's on YouTube, Primal Fighting Championship, and you fought Laquan Jenkins. Yeah. You lost that one, but it wasn't like a decisive loss, you feel me? Like, you was whooping that boy.
Super back and forth.
You was definitely whooping him.
Here's my opinion on that fight. The first and the second round, I think I won that one. The third round coming, there's too many factors to why I lost. I think the first factor is because he's stronger. He got that grown man strength. Another factor is because I didn't get the pound back since the weigh-in. I didn't gain back as much. So
was it a good weight cut?
Not really. I kind of cut the weight too fast.
Really?
Yeah. It's like a week and a half out, I cut 20 pounds.
That's something we go.
A week and a half out, you cut 20 pounds. Mm-hmm. So it was a bad weight cut because you have to rush it.
Yeah, there's other thing going on, so I gotta rush it.
Because I remember when you were cutting weight with me, I remember the week out you were 8 pounds out, right?
Yeah, that's solid. That one I gained back like 22 pounds.
Yeah.
This one I gained back like 16, 15.
Yeah. I was training with him every single day, making sure that he was on point. I was texting him, asking him what his weight was. I was more on top of it. Versus this one, I was kind of hands off a little bit, let him fill it out on his own. But I think, inshallah, going into the next one, I'll be a little bit more in touch with him.
Yes, sir. Jumah, you had a fight coming up August 20th, but you out here being, indestructible, man.
Hey, man, I'm not indestructible. I'm human, but I got injured, so inshallah, I'm not going to fight. But I'll be back November, definitely. I have one more fight that I want to cap the year off at my 2-0 as a professional. I put in a lot of work, so, I think personally it'll turn out pretty good. I'm predicting at least a first or second round finish for my next fight. I almost finished my first opponent in the second round and in the first round. Definitely almost in the third. It's just I ran out of time. So
watching you fight, bro, I wouldn't put it past you. You definitely, shoot for that second round TKO if you can. Shit, you might even get the submission. Who knows? You know what I mean? It's up in the air with you. You are a multi-skilled individual when it comes to the MMA world.
Do you know who you're fighting for the November one?
There's a few people, but there isn't one person specifically yet. Like with pro fighting, it's a little bit different because a lot of the guys that are like generally feeders, who are feeders for high level guys like myself, like those guys are always in demand because people think when I fight this dude, he's gonna lose, and it's their job to try to prove him wrong. But 9 times out of 10, whenever you let the skill do the talking, like that's what it really boils down to. But like guys like that, it's not too often that you're able to secure an opponent like that months in advance, let alone for like a casino show that's more unsanctioned versus like if I get them on a sanctioned show, 9 times out of 10 it should be good. But even if I get a normal opponent, there have been times where a normal opponent dropped out. Like Sifu offered me one guy like 2 or 3 days ago while I was working. So pro debut, it would be his pro debut for Combate, but he's 3-0 in Mexico. But I ended up not taking it because my injuries aren't going to heal by then. So right now I'm just really focused on healing, and then I should be done fully healed up by September. Fully, I believe, by September, so that I can start cutting weight, and then by October solidify the weight cut, and then by November be ready to fight. So I'm really just taking my time leading into this next fight to not only cut weight the right way, but to prep the right way and not go into a fight injured. Because I know me personally, if I end up getting hit where I'm injured and then I get dropped and I lose, I'm gonna personally be mad at myself that as a professional, I didn't have the insight to give myself enough time to fully recover leading up to my next fight. So I gotta treat every fight with the utmost care, like it could be my last.
That's the thing about MMA. The thing that I try to explain to people is you're not just stepping in a cage and fighting somebody. That's the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to win. But that's like what you're preparing to do, right? It's so much stuff around that you have to worry about and think about and consider before you even get to that point. Hal was mentioning the weight cut aspect of it. On my journey, I find that that's like the most difficult part.
That is the most difficult part. That's literally like 70 to 90% of the fight, depending on who you are.
Right.
Like me, like I'll take a fight. Like I've taken fights. Like I fought 3 times in 1 month before. I was scheduled for a 4th fight.
All different weight classes?
No, at 55.
Okay.
But at a certain point, like I couldn't cut weight anymore. So I literally told Sifu, like my body hit a plateau. Like I just can't cut weight. And he totally understood. He went like, yeah, I kind of expected this to happen. Because I fought 3 weekends back to back. So like I weigh in Friday, I fight Saturday. Then I take 1 cheat day, which is Sunday. And then I'm right back to training and cutting weight. And I was homeless living at the gym at that point in time. Right. So it was like, okay. But at that point, I had totally hit a plateau and I just couldn't cut weight anymore. And Sifu totally understood. So it's like, it's a mix. It really depends on who you are, what your body can handle. But that was also the same year that as an amateur, I fought 11 times in 13 months.
11 times in 13 months?
And 3 times in that 1 month.
Damn.
Yeah. I think the only other person who has me beat for that record is Tusi. I think he fought... I was trying to beat his record. I think he fought 12 or 13 times in 1 year.
Do you think that plays a long-term effect in, like, once you get to the pros, your body just starts to give away at a certain point?
For me, I was lucky enough to where I started my fighting career when I was 19. Mm-hmm. So when I was doing that, I was 20. I was a fresh 20-year-old. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's when you're at your peak of healing, your peak of testosterone. Like, you just wake up just jolted, ready to go.
Yeah.
So it's like, for me, I can't speak for somebody who might be older. I know me as a 23-year-old right now, if I was to try to do that same exact thing that I did as a 20-year-old, I wouldn't have been able to pull it off.
Yeah.
I just know my body and I know myself at this point. Like, I rebound too much after a weight cut to try to attempt something like that, because as I've gotten older, like, it's just like I've just hold on to things differently now. Versus when I was 19, 20, 21, the biggest change happened during COVID, where actually I felt my whole body composition change a little bit after I got vaccinated. Because I've never been vaccinated for anything ever in my life, and I remember my whole body just reacted differently once I got vaccinated. That's my own personal belief, that after I got vaccinated, even cutting weight was different. So I can only speak for myself.
I feel that. How about you?
Cutting weight?
Yeah.
I have a problem with cutting weight because I'm only 16 right now, and my body is still growing, so I don't want to really stun my growth. I cut weight like every single week. So I don't know. But again, I'm Asian, so the weight just come off really easy.
Said he's Asian.
He's Asian, so the weight just comes off hella easy. No, I feel that. My thing about it is, it's like a mental thing, you know? Like, yeah, you could torture your body, but are you mentally prepared to do that shit? I hate the sauna, bro.
Oh,
I never
man.
thought I would hate a sauna. I fucking hate the sauna, bro.
Hey, you know that thing that I have, right?
What? Sweet
That
sweat?
that PTSD.
Oh, yeah.
You know what that means?
What it mean? Tell them what it mean.
Post-traumatic sauna disorder.
Yeah, nah, it's a real thing.
Hey, I'm not even gonna lie to you. The most weight I've ever cut in a sauna, utilizing a sauna, was 11 pounds, and I did that in less than 12 hours. And I was with my fellow professional fighter, who's one of my teammates, one of my main training partners, Andrew Johnson. He's 1-0 now too. And it was when we were both amateurs. We both fought on this fight league called Bay Area Combat, and it was an amateur promotion. And me and him, we cut weight together. And for that, we spent about 8 or 9 hours in the sauna.
Shit.
Where we were just in and out, in and out, in and out. It was in between like maybe 6 to 9 hours. I had lost sense of time at that point. And I just remember I was sitting in the sauna. I actually started hallucinating. I started like hearing things that for certain weren't there. And then I would ask Monk, I would just be like, hey man, like, did you hear that? And he went like, hear what? And I went like, oh snap, dude, I think I'm hallucinating. And then he just went like, nah bro, you're all good, don't even worry about it. And I went like, dude, like my skin feels like it's crawling off of me.
Oh shit.
And then after that weight cut, I promised myself that I would never use a sauna to cut more than 4 to 5 pounds off of my body ever again.
And then you fucked around with me, and I think you lost like 5 pounds in a night.
Yeah,
or something crazy like that.
But also it was because I wasn't preparing for a fight. Or no,
Yeah.
was I?
The first time.
Yeah, that was for Bear River.
Yeah.
But that was me walking around a little bit heavier. And that was that time when I fought at 175, so it wasn't much of a cut.
It was like 3 pounds that you needed to
Yeah,
lose?
no. I lost like 5 pounds, but I mean, because obviously I'm heavier, I'm a more stacked individual, so I can hold on to weight pretty easy. But also, if it's anything, me personally, I found that if my body's holding on to anything that's over 170 or 175, it sheds it off pretty quickly. So if I'm healthy, I'm training consistently, staying on top of my cardio, I'll be walking around probably pretty light around that area. And that's where I feel the most comfortable, most athletic, and the most prime, honestly. Like, I'm not easy to take down. I'm very difficult to deal with, so.
you heavy set,
Yeah,
damn sure.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You the big side of the dumbbell,
Yeah.
dumbbell rack. That being said, though, you know, MMA is a really grueling sport, and it demands a lot. I think it's probably the most demanding sport in the world, I would say. For real. And it affects your lifestyle. It affects the decisions that you make
But I would
on
say,
a day-to-day.
I would say all of it, like almost all of it, is mental.
All of it is mental.
Like 75% is mental, 25% is physical.
Like discipline.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's not about just discipline. Like some people have it, some people don't. At the gym, I see a lot of guys like, "Hey, Sifu, I want to fight." And when Sifu say, "All right, I got you your first fight," I never see them again, ever. And even if them make the weight, get ready to fight, and when the ref say, "Are you ready? Are you ready?" Fight. And at that moment, they just crumble. I know one guy didn't even last 30 seconds.
Damn.
Not even 30 seconds. So, yeah,
It's mental.
it's all mental. Almost.
I say there's a lot of different factors that I've noticed since, becoming an amateur MMA fighter. Like, I think I developed an eating disorder. Nah, for real. Like,
All of us have.
it's bad, bro. Like, I can't, like, so when I'm cutting weight, I'm not eating at all, because the point of cutting weight is to keep the weight off of you until you're waiting.
In a caloric deficit.
Exactly.
Always.
So then when I'm not preparing for a fight, I'm just eating hella food, bro.
Yep. That you can't eat.
You never
While you're
full.
cutting weight.
You're never fucking full.
You never full.
Bro, it was so crazy this past 2 weeks. I call it carb loading. I was just eating everything, bro.
Everything that has to do with bread.
Yes, like 2 whole loaves of bread, bro. This shit was crazy. Like, hella oatmeal, hella bananas and shit. I'm like, yo, what is going on? What's wrong with my body right now?
I have like 10 PB&J yesterday.
Exactly, bruh. So y'all know, like, I'm not going crazy. Like, this is a real thing. Like you really develop a eating disorder. Well, some motherfuckers become hella emotional.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Some people just sink into the abyss and just become hella depressed and check out of life in general. Like, this shit is like real deal. If you don't have a strong support system around you, I don't think you'll last very long.
So not at all.
Yeah, so I'm happy to have my brothers around me. You know what I mean? Dragon House. I'm happy to land at Dragon House because there's so many real people that go through real shit on a day-to-day. It's not like people that just decided, oh, I want to train like an MMA fighter, so let me just go to the gym and, see what that. Nah, these motherfuckers actually want to make it as professional fighters, and there is no plan B for most of them. You know what I'm saying? This is the only plan, and it's commendable as fuck. Like, it's honorable. So, that being said, man, I don't know if y'all got anything more to add
To that, I mean, I know me personally, the journey that I've taken is like I come from a lower middle class family. Like, my father, he works for the city and county. My mother was a school teacher. She was a teacher for the school that I went to. So, like, I always had my family in my life. And for the first time ever, I had my family totally oppose what I wanted to do with my life and my lifestyle when I was 19. When I, like, made the decision, like, I was training one day, Sufu asked me if I wanted to fight. I thought about it for, like, 10 or 15 seconds, and then I told him, yeah. And I wouldn't imagine that one yes would turn into an entirety of my family opposing my lifestyle and my choices. Like, my father, like, he totally didn't appreciate the idea, to say the least, of me becoming a fighter, let alone a professional fighter.
Did he have expectations for what you...
Oh, yeah, definitely. He wanted me to go to school, get a degree in general business administration. That was the goal that he had for me. And then once I wasn't into that, I tried nursing. I felt my heart and soul wasn't into it. It wasn't that, like, I couldn't keep up in terms of the grades or anything. I had decent grades. It's just like there were times where I'm walking around a college campus and I'm like, what am I doing here? I'm not even here because I want to be here. I'm here because I'm expected to be here. So then by the time I was 18, I graduated when I was 17. So I did my first whole semester of school. And by the time, like, 10 days before my 18th birthday, I had finished up my first college semester. And then once I turned 18, or I think it was a little bit after I turned 18, that I finished my first college semester, like 10 days after. Then I went to go live in Indonesia by myself and just really like figure stuff out for myself.
You lived in Indonesia?
Yeah, I lived.
How long?
Almost 2 months.
Shit.
I just worked hella overtime. I was working 62 to 94 hours a week. And because I didn't want to go on a strugglecation, I wanted to go on a vacation. Like some cats be going on strugglecations. Like you pinching pennies. I wanted to ball out of control.
Yeah.
Like I wanted so much money to where like it was like, bro, I'm not tripping. Like how much it costs doesn't matter.
There you go.
And that's the way how you do it. Like especially if you're gonna be somewhere for an extended period of time. Like me, when I went there, I went to 3, 4, 5-star hotels just randomly whenever I felt like it. And their developing economy, my money was worth a lot over there. The average Indonesian makes in between 800,000 to 1.2 million rupiah a month. And you get 1 million rupiah with $77 US. Depending on which ATM I go to, might be 82, might be 74.
So $77 a month.
Yeah, so that's like the average.
God damn.
So after I did that, I was playing basketball every day. Did Muay Thai. Then I wanted to learn how to defend myself better, so I did Muay Thai in Indonesia at this gym called Combat. What was it called? Combat Training Camp.
And this is prior to.
This is before I met
Dragon House.
This is before I came to Dragon House. So my friend Woodrow Parker, he was a part of Dragon House for a while. He wasn't an amateur fighter yet, but he had known me and had asked me to come through to Dragon House here and there. I did every once in a while, and then but it never really stuck until after I came back from that trip, and I was on a weight loss journey personally for myself. I was almost 300 pounds. So then I was doing Olympic weightlifting and long distance running my first semester of college. Then after that, when I went to Indonesia, I was running, playing basketball, and doing Muay Thai every single day. Like every single day, 5 to 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week, where I would just hoop and run all the time. And then by the time I came back from Indonesia, I was like 230. So I had lost comfortably like 50 to 70 pounds by myself in between that first semester and then when I came back. And then by the time I joined Dragon House, I just started working out consistently and then just centering my life.
So at one point, you could have been a heavyweight.
Not heavyweight. That was super heavyweight. Because heavyweight is 266.
Oh, okay.
So I would have been super heavyweight. So at a certain point in my life, I'd gone through a lot of depression and just bad circumstances because this is one thing that I stand by. I wasn't depressed and fat. I was depressed because I was fat. Like a lot of people try to come at me with like I can't lose weight excuse when bro, I've been there. So I know what it's like. You're not just fat and depressed. You're depressed because you're fat. And I reserve the right to say that because I was in those shoes. So I know exactly what people go through. Like it's a never-ending cycle of something like that, but it takes a really deep internal change for you to want to change. What it really took for me was that a doctor told me when I was 17 that at the rate that you're gaining weight, you're probably going to die by the time you're in your early 30s. Early 30s, late 20s. So when I heard that, I just went like, nah, something needs to change. So after I was done training in Indonesia, came back, ran into Dragon House. I remember my friend, he had invited me to come and wrestle at his school. And then one of Sifu's old pro fighters, who's retired now, Jumo K, he had invited me, or not him, but Woodrow had invited me, and Woodrow was one of his students. And then I remember he told me like, hey man, he's a professional fighter. I went like, what? Like underground fighting? I didn't know nothing about fighting back then. And then he just went like, no, it's not underground. It's like sanctioned. It's like a real thing, bro. Like he's an actual MMA fighter, like a professional MMA fighter. I went like, what, dude? No way. And then he just went like, yeah. And then I remember then after that, like I wrestled with this wrestling team. Nobody could take me down because I did a little bit of judo when I was in high school. So I was utilizing that, but not really much technique. And then I remember after that, I just came to Dragon House, started training. And then I was playing basketball simultaneously. And then just one day, I just started coming just full time. And then ever since then, like ever since Sifu offered me my first fight, I went down this rabbit hole, and then I just never, I don't want to come out. I don't want to. it's like one of the best journeys I've ever experienced in my life.
Mhm.
It is the best.
You've been under 200 pounds for how long now?
Well, sometimes I get over, but
Now we're talking about it.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But friggin', I have been officially under that weight category for, I would say, the first time I ever saw myself with a six-pack, I was 19 years old.
Shit.
That was the first time I ever, as a grown man, I saw that I could actually have a six-pack.
Mm.
So that was the first time, and ever since then, even whenever I'm hitting that 200 number, I still got my six-pack.
Mm.
It might be a four-pack, it might be a little, the six might be a little shaded, but it's still there.
Damn sure a pack of beers.
12-pack.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Nah, hey, that's a great story though. You know what I'm saying? Like, you never know where you end up, right?
Man, no, not at all. I know if I would have told myself, I remember I had a vision when I was like a little kid, when I was like maybe 14 or 15. My walkout song that I always walk out to, I was just listening to it one day, and then I just had this vision of like me walking out to like a ring, and I couldn't see on my hand what kind of gloves they were.
Mm.
But I knew that it was like a fighting circumstance. And then I never thought about that ever again. And then I remember I was getting ready to walk out for my MMA debut, and then I just remembered that.
Mm.
And I just went like, damn. So I guess that's what that meant that long ago. But like, if I would have told myself like, oh yeah, you'd become a professional fighter when like I was 12 years old, bro, I wouldn't have believed myself. I would have been like, bro, you're crazy. I wanted to become a stockbroker. I didn't want to become a professional fighter when I was like 12. I thought I was going to become a stockbroker.
Shit, you can still be a stockbroker, bro. You could be my stockbroker. What's up?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Once I get my bread from fighting, got to
feel
get
it.
the bread from that first, and then I'll set up my own fund, and then, you know, see what to do from there.
Hell yeah, I throw some bread into that. That's a fact. Hey, that's a beautiful story. How about you? How did you come across Dragon House?
So I got jumped.
You got jumped.
I got jumped.
And when was this?
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
So when I first came to the U.S. it was 2017.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know English back then. Like no nothing. Like I say earlier, there's only two words I know: hello and restroom.
Hello and restroom.
That's it. So I got picked on because they know English. They jumped me, and I found out about Dragon House.
Hold on. All right. How did you find out about Dragon House?
So I got jumped. I moved to the U.S. 2017. I didn't know English back then, so I got picked on a lot. It's a rebel kid, middle school, they just jumped me, and from there on, I trying to learn self-defense. Found out about Dragon House, and I didn't really.
How'd you find out about it?
I pass it like every day, so.
Oh, you would walk by it every single day?
I pass it every day, so.
Nice.
But when I first joined, I didn't want to fight MMA or anything. I just want to learn how to defend myself, self-defend. But
Who was there on your first day?
Sifu was there on the first day. It's the only person I remember, Sifu. And after I think 2 months, he asked me if I want to fight. Like I didn't know what he mean by fighting because I don't know English. So it's like,
You were like 13.
yeah, no,
Shit.
like 14, 15.
14.
So I just say yes because. And I think a better question is like, why do I fight? If you get my name Hao and translate it to Vietnamese, it means ego or pride. So I think the reason why I fight is because I want to prove my dad that he have a solid son. Because I live by myself, my dad is back in Vietnam, so I kind of want to prove to him that he have like a good son, not like a pussy one. So yes, that's why I fight.
Fighting for your pride.
Yeah.
see you've changed? Not just, in the self-defense aspect, but like mentally, how have you seen yourself change?
Oh.
Has it given you more?
Oh yeah, mentally, I become a different person. I
Fighting will do that to you.
got so much stronger mentally. Like just the fact that you make weight and cutting weight will definitely make you stronger mentally. And fight in there, and I'm 16. I fight against 28-year-old, 26, a decade-year-olds in me. So
Shoot, bro, they were in they were in 5th grade. By the time you were even born, they were in the 3rd to 5th grade.
Hey, how did you feel? Can you recall how you felt before your first fight? Like the moments leading up to you stepping in the cage?
Shit. I do. I remember some part of it. I think the first moment I remember from that journey is that the venue was a really nice venue. The cage is really nice, and it's a long walk to like the cage.
Yeah.
And when we walk in there, Sifu was just like massaging my shoulder and say to me, "If you think you're nervous, he is nervous too. If you feel like you're in pain, he's also in pain. If you feel like you're tired, he also tired. The only thing that separates you from him is the poker face. You don't show it." So I try to remember that. Another thing I try to do is that cancel out all the noise but Sifu voice, like the music, the crowd. It's all white noise. Cut it out. Nothing but Sifu. And it worked. I listened to him. And when the ref say, "Are you ready? Are you ready? Fight!" Oh shit, bro.
Oh man, that's real.
It was like shit. Can't be a pussy now.
Exactly. You just gotta rely on your training. That's about it. How about you, Juma? Can you recall the feelings that you had before your first fight?
My first fight. Oh man.
Your
I
first
remember,
MMA fight, or
my first MMA fight. I remember I was super nervous. I was actually shaking. And then I remembered I'm not just shaking though because I'm nervous and I'm scared. I'm also shaking because I know exactly what I'm here to do to this dude. Like in my mind, whenever I fight somebody, I'm not fighting them to be into a fist fight. I'm there to kill him if I have to. Like I think that's my mindset is totally different than I would say the normal even MMA fighters. Like I'm not there to be your friend. I'm not there to even remotely be a sportsman. I'm there to take you off the planet if I have to. And if anybody see me fight, they know that that's
this
the
was your
intentions.
thought going into your
Absolutely.
first fight? God damn.
Because it's
Cold
like,
as fuck, bro.
well, I had grown up street fighting, so it wasn't like the first time I've ever been into a fight. I would say just fighting in general is like I'm not equating any street fight to an MMA fight. It's totally different.
Yeah.
Street fighting is totally different, but I fully was capable and I understood what I'm capable of going into a fight, and I know how ruthless I am. So that's something that I didn't count myself out on, is the ability to be ruthless. Like personally, whenever I go in there, like I don't care if your friends are there, if your family's there. It's very unfortunate that they're there because they're about to see you get the brakes beat off you. That's best case. Worst case is I'll end you right then and there. And it is personal. It's personal because it's fighting. And if you would ask somebody, like, if it could be you or the other person, they'll pick you every single time, I promise you. If they could put you in the most compromising position and take advantage of it, and that's how the fight started, they'll take it. Like, you could say what you want. A lot of people just go like, "Oh, I wouldn't do that." Well, you don't know what you do until you actually step in there yourself. Nobody knows what you're truly capable of. But I knew going into that fight, I understood that I was training with nothing but professional fighters leading into that fight.
What year was this?
This was November of 2018. I made my MMA debut. But leading up to that fight, I was training with nothing but with professional fighters. I had very few amateur training partners leading up to that fight. Like, I was training with Jumo K, I was training with Jiu Jitsu Chris, that he was my main training partner / coach during that period. I was training with Abraham Vassal, Paradise, Brady Huang. I was training with all of those dudes leading up to it. And the only amateur training partners I had consistently was Ezra Clark. He's a D1. He's a D2 JUCO All-American wrestler. And who else? And Caesar and Monk. But I didn't really train with them like that because they were just smaller than me. And I was a much more bigger person back then. So leading into my fight, I trained nothing but professional welterweight fighters. So in my mind, the only way that this dude could beat me was if he was better than all of them. And if that's the case, there's nothing I can do about it. So I went into that fight, and I remember just walking out, and then I remember I was listening to my music, I was feeling it, and then I just said my last prayer, and then I walked out, right? Said my last little dua, and then I walked out, and then I just blacked out. I got tunnel vision, and I walked straight to the cage. And then I actually walked straight into the cage without taking off my sandals or my shirt. And then the referee grabs me, and then he says, hey, you got to take off your stuff. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. And then I kind of snapped out of it. And then my tunnel vision, it wasn't tunnel vision anymore. It was kind of wide, but still kind of tunnel vision. Mm-hmm. And then Sifu did a break for me. And then I stepped into the cage, and I just thought, all right, it's time to put in some work. So then I'm standing in the cage waiting for my opponent. I hear his walkout music, and then he walks out, and I see him trying to avoid looking at me. So instantly I knew he's scared. Good. I'm about to tear his ass up. And then I remember he took off his stuff. I saw him, and I was staring at him. I was just walking back and forth staring at him. And then the moment he looked at me, his eyes started shaking. And then he looked at the ground, and then I just instantly knew, I'm a lion, bro. I'm going to eat your ass. You have no idea. Like, I'm going to kill you. And then he stepped into the cage, and then he looked at the ground, and then he just looked shook.
For your first fight, that's crazy. For your first MMA fight, that's crazy.
Were you?
Street fight and MMA
Well,
fight.
why is it crazy?
I don't know, bro. Because street fight, you can run. MMA fight, you die. So
Yeah.
that's crazy.
But I guess it's a level of mental fortitude that you developed over the years that got you to that point.
Yeah, because it was like leading up to that, like my dad had told me that I was gonna lose. A lot of people didn't really believe in me. My mom, she believed in me. I knew that, but she stayed more low key about it because my whole family was against the idea, and I just had too much to prove during that time period. I was running marathons. I was running 26 to 32 miles 3 to 4 times a week, because one thing that Sifu told me leading up to that fight is one thing a lot of guys do that make their MMA debut, they gas out, or they don't have the gas tank to do exactly what they want to do. And I knew going into that fight, I didn't want that problem. So I started running marathons 3 to 4 times a week. On an easy week, I was running at least twice. I was running in between 26 to 32 miles, sometimes 33.8. That was the longest I ever ran, was 33.8 miles. I ran from Oakland Coliseum Park to Lake Merritt. Then I ran around the lake a few times and then ran back home from there. It would take me in between like an hour and 56 minutes to 2 hours and 54 minutes to run that much. And then, alhamdulillah, that was like one of the best weight cuts I've ever had. It was the most weirdest one, though, because I had never been that low before. I made my MMA debut at a catch weight that was 150. I weighed in at 150.8. And then, so I remember I had a lot riding on going into that fight. And I would say training specifically, and the level of intensity that you bring to your training builds up the confidence leading up to your fight that you walk into it with. Like, at that point, I had totally changed my life at that point. I had gone from being a fat dude to like an in-shape individual, like a world-class athlete without even knowing it. And I had totally changed my diet, the way I lived. I went from being a fat kid that drinks like 2 to 5 Arizonas a day to drinking nothing but water, coconut water, hydration drinks, like just totally changing my life. I started studying the science of food. So for me, I left no stone unturned. The only way that this guy would beat me is if he's legitimately better than me, in which case, bro, I just can't help it, bro. It is what it is. But the way how I was feeling about myself, even then, like even if he's better than me, I'm gonna outwork him. There's nobody on the planet that I'll allow to outwork me. Like you can beat me, you can even knock me out, and I think I'll get back up and somehow win. Doesn't matter. Like I'll never count myself out. That's one thing that I think Allah has just blessed me with, is just the confidence to be like, I'm never gonna count myself out. So going into that fight, I did everything I humanly could to ensure victory for myself. And unfortunately, the fight isn't available to watch anymore because the person that recorded it, they posted it without asking the promotion. So due to copyright, they got it taken down, and then it got deleted off the internet. So now I can't ever rewatch it. But I have the finish from it, and literally, like, I was beating the brakes off this dude from the first round all the way until the third, and then I got a third round TKO.
Sheesh.
Like I had punched him so I'm pretty sure I fractured his orbital, I broke his nose, and his face was just covered in blood after the fight. Like he couldn't even walk by himself. He needed like 3 people to carry him out.
You pretty much killed the dude.
Nah, I ran into him actually like maybe after that fight. I had ran into him after I fought for my first world title and won. I had ran into him 9 or 10 months after that point. Maybe even a year and a half after. And then I remember he saw me and he just looks at me and he said the weirdest thing ever. Like he looked at me and he goes like, "Hey man, I've been watching you. Good job." Because at that point in time in that area, I was 4-0. I was undefeated. I had just come off of winning a championship. And then he had told me like, one day when you get to a really big promotion and you win and you're beating people up, I'm gonna tell everybody that that's the dude that kicked my ass. And then I was like, what?
All right.
In my mind, I'm just like, I don't know if I should say thank you or anything of that. That was the most weirdest compliment I've ever received from somebody that I've been in a fist fight with.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to overcomplicate it and be like, oh, we were exchanging martial art. Like, nah, man, that was a fist fight. I don't need to overcomplicate it.
Yeah, well, they say, well, Joe Rogan says it a lot. It's like when you share the cage with somebody, you guys are connected for life. You know what I mean?
But
for life.
For him, I don't think his teammates possibly presented. I think they underestimated what I was capable of, and it showed in the fight what he prepared for versus what I prepared for.
Okay.
Like, I would say he probably had maybe, out of that entire 9-minute, the fight got stopped in like the minute and a half of like the third round. So like out of that 8.5-minute exchange, he probably had less than like 10 or 15 dominant seconds of the fight where he would take me down for like a second and then I would pop back up. So like, I think once you get to a certain level of fighting, everybody's just as good as the next person. It's just it's like what Hal was talking about, like mental fortitude and mental strength, like just who believes in themselves the most to not make mistakes. Because whenever you lose a fight, it's because you made a mistake.
Let your guard down.
You let your guard down, or you made a mistake, or you didn't prepare the right way. So for me, I know that I always prepare the right way. I've never gassed out in a fight. I know that mentally, I'll never count myself out. So the only thing that's possible for me to lose a fight is if I make a mistake. I just know myself, and I know that I'm a hard worker, and that I'm very mentally strong. Like once I step in the cage, I'm not afraid of death. Like, I think that's one tactical edge that I have over a lot of people. Like, a lot of people go like, oh, I'm ready to die. Like, no, I'm ready to literally end everything at that point. Like, I tell people before my fights, like, I don't make plans beyond Saturday night.
Fuck. That's some warrior shit.
Like, some people go like, hey, man, what do you want to do Sunday? I'm like, let me get past Saturday first, and I'll get back to you Saturday night.
Yeah.
Like, I keep it a buck with people, man, because that night, I'm ready to end everything.
And isn't that a level of trauma, though?
I mean,
you're inducing on yourself?
How do you get there, bro? Like, I don't think I could ever get to that point of like,
That
well, I
killer-
mean, it's
my family, myself, my future, like everything just end there, bro.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things, though, right? I'm also professional, and I've developed that mindset over a series of fights.
But do you actually think you're gonna die?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. There have been times where I'm in a fight, and I remember the first time I ever got elbowed in the face multiple times. I remember the dude hit me in the mouth, and it felt like one of my teeth got knocked out. So then I take a second to hold him down, and I use my hand to feel the inside of my mouth to check and see if there's a tooth, but I can't reach it. So then I just remember thinking, man, forget about it, man. If I lost a tooth, I just lost a tooth. It is what it is.
Wow.
So
That's
it's
what
like,
you sign up for.
yeah, man, like, and if you read the contract for a bout, I'm not sure if you guys have, but it says, in case of mortal death or injury, do you hereby sign away your right as a combatant to where the promotion, the promoters, and all resources connected to it are no longer held liable for anything that happens. When, I mean, I'm the kind of person to know exactly what I get into. I read the unified rules of MMA. Before I did my first fight, I full-heartedly read the unified rules of MMA to understand what I'm allowed to do, what I'm not allowed to do, what the referee is expecting, and what me as a combatant should expect. So I'm the kind of person to where I need to know what I'm getting into before I get into it. So I'm very thorough in how I research and develop things over time. And for me, like, what really solidified that mindset is my second amateur belt fight, when I got finished in 15 seconds because I tried to rush in and knock somebody out, but he clipped me on the way in, and then I ended up getting finished. And I remember I wasn't unconscious, I just couldn't move. So he clips me, and then I drop. And then I didn't drop yet. I grabbed onto the fence, and then he kept following up, and then I dropped. And then as my body's like limp, I'm looking up at somebody throw punches at me while I'm fully cognizant and aware of what's going on, but my body can't move. And then I'm looking up at him, and I see him with a big old smile on his face, just pounding on my head. And I remember seeing him going like, damn, I want to get up and hit him. And then he hits me right upside my head, and then I feel my head rattle and then hit the cage and then hit the ground, and I can't move.
I'm just visualizing all of this shit, bro. This shit is brutal as fuck.
Well, yeah, and then after that fight, I remember I just popped up. I popped up like a minute or 30 seconds after, because then my body like registered that it could move.
Yeah.
And then I asked Sifu what happened, and then he just went like, "It's good, kid. Don't worry about it. You just got caught coming in." And then I started crying a little bit, and I told Sifu, "I'm so sorry." And then he just went like, "Don't worry about it. It's all good. Don't even worry about it." And then I just remember being so frustrated and disappointed, and I was homeless at the time, living in the gym. So for me, fighting was my only way to prove my value or my worth at that point in time, just where my mindset was at. Like, I was homeless living at the gym, and Sifu had allowed me to live in the gym. And in my mind, the only way that I can prove that I belong there is by fighting. And that's when I fought 11 times in 13 months, because that was the only thing that was keeping me there. So for me, like, after that fight, there aren't cats in there that are just willing to fight you. They're willing to kill you. So I went into a fight with a mindset of, I'm willing to hurt and kill this person, but I myself, I'm not willing to go there. And then after that, just a flip switched. And then I just went like, first of all, I ain't never gonna get finished like that again. That's number one. Number two is I'm gonna train my ass off, and I'm gonna get so much better to where it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens. And then number three is, it's just like, I go in there now with a mindset to where I'm not in there to be your friend. I'm not in there to dap you up and do all that. I'll dap you up after I beat you. I'm cool with that. But even sometimes if I lost a fight as an amateur, I'll dap up the person, and then I'll ask them, like, how did you beat me? Like, what was your game plan? What was your mindset going into it?
You asked that directly after?
Yeah, I've asked that a few times. And because your opponent, if they defeated you, they are your teacher. Because they taught you what you didn't know about yourself in one form or another. So if I survive... Yeah, exactly. So, like, for me, it was a developmental journey, because I'm not going to do that as a professional. I already understood that about myself. Once I turned pro, I am full-heartedly accepting of everything that happens. Versus amateur, it's where I can learn. So that's why I was just fighting so many times, because I understood that, like, preferably you want to win. Nobody wants to lose a fist fight, bro. It hurts, all right? Versus you don't want to lose, but in the same breath, the result doesn't really matter as long as you benefit from it. Now I'm purely result driven. I don't want an experience. I don't want to be like, oh man, that was such a fun fight. I had so much fun. But there's a number on the loss column of your professional record.
Yeah.
I don't care about none of that no more. Personally, I'm a pure result driven factor right now. Like, it's either I won or I didn't, and I want to keep it that simple. Like, if I lose, and there was no systematic failure on my end, it was just that person was better than me. So I need to eliminate all of those to where the person being better than me is almost an absolute zero.
Where do you see yourself eventually ending up?
For fighting?
Yeah.
UFC world champion at 155 pounds, and then we'll see about 45.
Oh, you going for 2 belts?
Yeah.
How about you, Hal?
Fighting?
Yeah.
Shit, bro. I don't know.
You don't know?
Maybe get an amateur belt and see how to go from there. Because I'm 16, bro.
The amateur belt right there, though, that's within the next 2 fights.
Uh-huh.
I mean, like, ultimately, like, do you see yourself pursuing a UFC contract, Bellator?
I honestly don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
I mean, man, he just started this journey, man.
Yeah, true.
How long ago did you just start your journey? Like 6 months ago?
Yeah.
Your first fight was January. January of last year, I remember.
It's July right now, so...
Oh, no, July, right? Is it July
No, it
or
was January of this year.
January of this
yeah.
year? Yeah, man, you just started your journey, so just feel it out, you know?
Yeah.
But in the same breath, like, take it as far as you can. Like, don't be afraid. That's one thing that I learned as an amateur. Because, like, Sifu, he made me stay low-key for a very long time. Because one thing he told me while I was amateur, he was like, by the time I turn you pro, I want people to be like, where did this guy come from? I didn't even know this guy existed until just now. So for me, my mindset was, all right, I'm going to stay low-key as much as possible. And then once I turn pro, I don't need to stay low-key anymore. So my mindset is totally shifted. But looking back on it, it kind of had me like check a part of my ego that I felt like could have really been good for me as an amateur. Like, instead of thinking like, oh, it doesn't matter if I win or lose, I think if somebody would have talked to me and been like, hey, don't be afraid to say exactly what's on your mind. Even as an amateur fighter, like, talk your talk and walk your walk. Like, back up everything you say. Like, if you're going to say it, back it up. Like, that's one thing that, like, Sifu and a lot of cats tell me, like, man, you talk a lot. I'm like, yeah, I talk a lot and I back it up. That's one thing that anybody who knows me can attest to. I'll talk my talk and I'll walk the walk. And I'll do it damn good, too, because I won't let nobody tell me different. I've given up too much and I've sacrificed too much. Like, even you as a 16-year-old, there's a reason why, like, I don't take a liking to too many people who come in and train. But I can say definitely out of you two, over the past, like, 4 years, out of all the people I've taken underneath my wing, I'm definitely very proud of you guys. Even though I did either directly or indirectly took you guys underneath my wing at some point, I know other people who have a dog in them. And I know for certain that you two do. It's just you need to let yourselves experience what that dog is and what situations to let it loose to really understand yourself. So for you, I would just say, man, like, enjoy the journey, like, relax, and talk your talk, man. You ain't got to be shy. You ain't got to be humble. Everybody's always talking about be humble.
Yeah,
be humble. You have nothing to be proud of.
Staying humble.
Well, people want to talk about be humble. You ain't got nothing to be proud of, homie. You work 9 to 5, homie.
Nah, I'm alive. But I'm staying humble because all it really takes is one punch to ruin
Well,
your
yeah,
whole life.
absolutely. But I'm saying in terms of, like, accomplishments, a lot of people go like, even when you accomplish something, be humble. Okay, I can be humble, but still talk my talk.
Oh, of course.
But people want you to be over humble, over human. Like, they want you to express this unprecedented amount of humility. Nah, man. Whenever you do something that's worthy of respect, worthy of honor, that's how you should conduct yourself going forward. Like, we have a very honorable and dignified way of approaching martial arts. What do we not have to be proud of? Most people are afraid to even step in there. Like, you got a better chance winning the lottery than becoming an MMA fighter.
a fact.
Like, I ran those systematic numbers. Like, in the U.S., I think there are around less than 15,000 amateur MMA fighters. And professionally, there are less than 12,193 or 94. Just running off of those numbers alone, you have a better chance to win the lottery. There are billions of people on the planet. So it's like, nah, man, like, we do something that most people are afraid to do. Even as an amateur, you're doing something that the majority of the planet, let alone you're an amateur who's actually won a fight. That doesn't even include the winning aspect of it. Just doing it is one thing, and then being successful at it is a whole different thing. So it's like, a lot of people say, like, oh, you need to be humble, you need to do this, you need to do that. I mean, you look at some of the greatest fighters of all time, they're humble in certain aspects, but humility doesn't ooze from them from a point to where it's like, oh, okay, he was just that humble guy who just always won. Like, nah, it has its time and its place. But when it's your time to shine, don't let anybody take that shine away from you. Like, understand, like, this is your moment. And you have something to be proud of, kid. Like, don't ever count yourself out. Don't ever give up. Like,
Look at you sounding like the OG of the whole
Man, I
shit.
am an OG in this shit, man. Man, I got a
23-year-old
I'm 23
OG,
years old, but I got a 4-year degree in being people's father. I've been
Hey.
fathering other people's kids in a cage since November 23rd of 2018.
That part.
Man, I've been in the game for almost, if November 23rd of 2018, and it is 2022, and it's August. It's about to be August tomorrow. I've been fighting now for almost 4 years. That doesn't include even training. I've been training for a little over 4 years.
No, that's not 10,000 hours yet.
Nah, it'll be 4 years in November 23rd of 2022. That'll mark my exact 4 years I've been fighting. So if you want to go by technicality, I almost have a bachelor's degree in just fighting. That doesn't include training. I've been in over 30 combative situations as a fighter. Like kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, MMA fights, like over 30 of them. Like, I stopped counting after like 32 or 33 because at that point it just didn't matter anymore.
And then
Now I've lost count.
5 years from now, it'll probably double or triple.
Yeah, who knows? But it's like at this point, there's no room for a lack of confidence, because when you go in there, you need to believe that you're the best. Like, and you fight the way how you've trained. And for me, whenever I train, I believe that I'm producing the best result out of myself and what I have to have at that point in time. And then when it's time to fight, it's time to take all $100 out of my pocket and present it to the world. I need to show them, like, this is exactly what I've been working on, and this is what it looks like. And this is what it looks like for me to win. I'm not just doing it to just compete. I'm going in there to win. Like, I don't care if it's entertaining. I don't care if it's awesome. I don't care if it's lackluster. Like, I don't really care. As long as it involves me winning or me knocking somebody out or me choking somebody out, maybe even winning by decision, I'll take it. But my main priority is results at this point in my career. I'm not looking for experiences. I'm not looking for thrills. I'm looking for success. Like, I'll leave the other stuff for the birds and the bees.
And on that note, we have reached the hour mark. Anything else y'all want to add?
Shoot, man. How you go? Say something deep, man.
That was a lot. That was a lot to ingest.
Pay us some more respect, bro. Like, that's one thing I noticed about MMA. People don't know what the fuck MMA is. Like, they don't pay us enough respect. They really don't. Oh, basketball. Oh, football. But
It's a young sport. You know what I'm saying? Well, in terms of like the professional side of it, but the UFC came out in the 90s.
yeah,
But if we're talking like throughout history, people have been fighting for like combat sports in general. You trace it back thousands of years, forever. So I agree. You know, definitely got to pay us our respect. And it's being earned the more we take it serious and the more we carry ourselves as young professionals in this realm. You know what I mean? So that's it. It'll come. Just keep putting in the work, man. You know? Fuck it. And on that note, man, I had the honor to talk with two legends, two young legends.
Legends in the making. I ain't gonna accomplish everything I want to accomplish yet.
Y'all are legends in my book because y'all are my homies, and that was episode 7 of All My Homies Are Legends. This is your boy Goldmine the Books. Brooks. We out, bro.
Hey, I'm Juma. Well, all right, I'll drop my legal. My name is Jihad Muhammad. Add me on IG. It's Muslim_Tiger_MMA. And y'all already know, man. Hit me up, follow my journey, watch my rise to the top, y'all. If it was easy, everybody do it. But since it's so goddamn epic, y'all just gotta watch me do it and have some fun.
That way.
Hoa Tang, remember it.
Hoa Tang, remember. I had to say it with some bass because you ain't got the bass yet. You ain't got the bass in your voice. Your balls ain't dropped yet.
You cold.